2026 edition of OSCAL Central Online. I'm David Vaughn. For new viewers, I have a short introduction to the program to make sure everybody is in the right place. OSCAL 2 rail is a model railroad scale of 1/4 inch to the foot, 1:48 proportion. It runs on 2 rail track, just like prototype trains. And if you're here to talk OSCAL, you're in the right place. OSCAL 2 rail is almost 8 times the mass of HO. The scale has detail you can see, mass you can feel, and satisfying models you can build. Although nominally the same scale as Lionel, OSCAL 2 rail trains are built to prototype proportions, operate in a prototype manner, and use 2 rail track. OSCAL Central, which sponsors this program, is a nonprofit 501c3 tax-exempt membership corporation whose mission it is to promote 2 rail OSCAL and support modelers in the scale. We are National Model Railroad Association Special Interest Group, or SIG, for OSCAL. OSCAL Central has an information-filled website at oscalcentral.com. If you're new to the scale or just OSCAL curious, check it out. There are introductory materials to give you an overview of the scale and to help you connect with resources and modelers. There is also an online directory of suppliers of OSCAL 2 rail equipment and services. It is searchable and easy to use, and it is free to use and free to be listed. OSCAL Central publishes a monthly newsletter, The Drawbar, filled with interesting features about OSCAL 2 rail products, modelers, layouts, clinics, and news. OSCAL Central maintains an active outreach program to train shows, RPM meets, and NMRA conventions. We display OSCAL trains to demonstrate what the scale is and to discuss how to model in the scale. We also sponsor this online program on a monthly basis using the Zoom platform. We've been doing this for over 3.5 years. We bring in top manufacturers, importers, and newsmakers in the scale, present layout tours of quality OS2R layouts, short clinics, and news you can use. Somebody is not muted. If you got noise in the background, please put the mute on. Thank you. February's headliner was Jay Escamilla, a new head of Sunset Third Rail. He walked us through his extensive catalog of OS2R models in stock, in transit, in production, and planned. Jay gave us lots of inside information about the new Sunset and handled questions. We plan on inviting Jay back when Sunset's next catalog hits on or about June 1st. By the way, if you miss any program or know someone who should see it, or if you want to watch it again, the program is recorded. Previous programs are available on YouTube, either directly through OSCAL Central's YouTube channel or through the OSCAL Central website. Again, oscalcentral.com. The Sunset program from February would be particularly good to pull up for a rerun. There was lots of information about the bright future of the scale. We provide this program, as well as our website, as a service to the scale. You need not be a member of OSC to use the website or to view this program. We think keeping the OSCAL 2 rail community informed, educated, and cohesive is important. That said, we hope you'll see the benefit of what we do, enjoy the program, and join OSC. Go to the website, find the membership section, and follow the prompts. Your dues, which are only $24 for the basic membership, make this program and our other activities possible. We generally start this program with news and announcements. This is the first program since the Chicago March meet, which is the biggest OSCAL 2 rail show in the country. We had over 350 tables and almost 1,000 attendees, 16 clinics, a model contest, layout tours, and prototype visits. It was a great success. I want to congratulate the committee who work under Brad Kowal, for their great work and their successful result. Also note that O-Scale West's show was the weekend before Chicago. New dates, new venue, new format, and thank goodness, new success. Rod Miller and his crew get kudos for a great show. It was good to see O-Scale West back. Check it out and sign up for next year at oscalewest.com. I'll flag the fact that we have now promulgated new modular standards for use across the scale for people who are just getting started, don't have space, need to move a lot, like to have a group to work with in addition to their solo layouts, and maybe even need a place to go when they downsize. These modular units work with larger layouts, generally with a group supporting it, and they're a real good alternative, not to mention a counter when people say that O-Scale takes too much space and they don't have it. To keep up with other coming events, we have a separate page on the website at oscalecentral.com to find coming shows, other coming events, and future O-Scale Central online programs. We have a good program today. Hey guys, you need to mute yourself if you're going to have noise in the background. Thank you. Our first headliner is John Wubble, and John is here in substitution for Jim King at Smoky Mountain Model Works. Jim had said he would appear and then had to back out. But John is an O-Scale two-rail modeler who has resurrected the All Nation line, which is a storied producer of O-Scale two-rail engines, rolling stock, and parts. John not only continues to offer original All-Nation equipment, but has added kits, parts, and track components. We have not had him on the program for a while, and we owe him, and he owes us, an update on what's happening at All Nation. John is also going to give us a briefing, which is going to be real interesting, on how to use artificial intelligence to help your research and modeling. There's a lot of bad information out there, and a lot of ways you can go wrong, but there are also some really interesting ways to use AI, and John is going to tell us about that after he gives us the update. Our second presenter, is indicated in the flyer that went out, will be Nick Bulgarino, who will provide a clinic on building passenger car lighting for use with power on board. Nick's techniques are really a jump. They produce highly realistic lighting without the hassles of more traditional techniques. So we're looking forward to that. One other thing I want to share with you, I've been doing these programs for about 3.5 years, and I'm happy to do it. But it's always good to have some fresh blood, and I am pleased to report that Ryan Shawyer, who appeared on last month's program with his video myths of O-Scale, will be taking an act, and his refurbishment of the Terry Terrence videos, will be taking an active role in O-Scale Central Online. He is a gifted videographer and a social media powerhouse. He's been helping O-Scale Central with our social media and with reformatting the Terry Terrence videos. He will be working on a new monthly feature for our program, which is going to be a tour of a layout each month. We're going to try and work that in. If you have a layout that you would like to show off, we'd be happy to work with you, and you can get in touch with us through the website. All right. John, are you ready to take us through a tour of what's happening in All Nation? And then pause, take a deep breath, and give us a briefing on AI and OSCAL 2-Rail.
Well, thank you, David, and I'm happy to do so. I guess a lot of times people expect for for somebody like me to get on a program like this and start presenting new product. We tend to put on our website new releases, and we also announce those in Dan Dowdy's OSCAL Online Resource Magazine to try to keep people up to date. As it turns out, we've been working to revive All Nation now for a little over 5 years. We've been able to do this with the help of a lot of people, including people like Dan Dowdy, Joe Norman, and I would say that the majority of our business today is parts for updating the older legacy models that are in the field. We have kits. We've also tried to bring out 3D printed kits at a lower cost for the entry-level model railroader in terms of being easy to build and relatively lower in cost, especially for the teenagers that might be getting involved, since they don't have the disposable income when they're in high school or college. So those are some of the activities. But having said that, and selling so many parts, we have a lot of help from the community like y'all, because we get a lot of feedback. And I can see a few folks here like Greg and Jim Cantor and Martin that has given me, and not to forget Eric Peterson, given us suggestions on what we could do, what we could come out with that may be of interest to other modelers. So what I'd like to do quickly is share my screen and take you on a little tour first of our new product areas that you can focus on quite quickly. And I think I figured out how to go full screen here, because I'm going to show you the website. And I think you should be able to see that by now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good, John.
Okay, I'm going to try to go full screen with it so it looks a little more easy on the eyes. And I'm going to move this window off to the side so it's not conflicting with my view. So what's new is usually the page on our website that will list the items as we come out with them, and then links so that you can actually go and investigate. When we go to the train meets, we try to promote those for like Rich Yoder, the March meet, the Indianapolis meet. So we'll always post those ahead of time. As we develop new web pages, we'll announce those and what's new. More recently, we came out with some new CAD work that Gary Rains developed and has allowed us to print and provide that for modelers. The CNLE freight car was one of them, and one of the nicer ones that I liked was his traction substation. And I know Paul has one in his hands. I don't know if he built it yet, but he could probably tell you a little bit more about it. And some of the things that we've had help with in the 3D printing area is we've asked Dan Dowdy to do some of the smaller detail work for us. And believe it or not, one of our most frequently sold items is these coupler shims over the last 5 years. I thought I was the only one that had coupler height problems, but apparently they come in handy when you have that occasional car where the coupler is either too not lining up with your KD coupler gauge. So like I said before, we post the new stuff out here, and what we tend to do is also try to do a little write up in Dan's magazine, so a lot of people follow us on there. Now, the website is, of course, looks like any other e-commerce website, but I find that I spend an awful lot of time on the telephone and doing emails, helping other modelers and getting these ideas to try to bring them forward, because I don't think that in a lot of cases anybody else in our community is manufacturing or supporting these items that people are requesting. So I developed another web page called the Digital Workbench from our main site, and it was intended to give visitors a little bit more information and ease of navigation. And so, it'll show things such as when we're going to the next show. It kind of tells our audience that we have, a YouTube channel, links to that. It tries to bring a lot of things together and make it easier to navigate. And of course, you can always go back to the e-commerce site. So this led to some of the other issues where I found I was spending more time on the phone and less time in the shop or working on CAD software, developing product. And so I was coming along with different ideas, and I got introduced to the artificial intelligence area to help us bring new product forward. And one of the items that we initially did was we have a subscription to the Anthropic Claude front end. And if I go all the way to the bottom of the page here, you'll see that if I can move my windows around here, there's a link at the bottom that will take you to the O-Scale resource link. Unfortunately, I can't get to that link because let's see, the screen here is in my way. Let me see if I can move it over. Okay, I think I can get to it now just to show you. So what we did was, for some reason I don't see the link there, but anyways, we used that Claude Anthropic to go out and analyze all the old issues of O-Scale Online Resource for the purpose of locating a particular article. So when I develop a model for my Chicago Great Western, I generally do a lot of research and looking for the information I need to get the parameters and the metrics and so forth to develop the model. And I'll look for articles. Well, instead of looking through each individual magazine, we actually developed an index that would allow you to search issues that Dan had published from 2013 to the present day. And that worked pretty good. And we sent it to Dan. And so he was quite impressed. And one thing led to another. We've developed some blog articles. We've also, if we go back to the homepage, we have brought what I would call not only the new product catalog, that we used artificial intelligence to help us build that catalog, and we came out with the Cool Info, which was a relatively dull presentation, in my opinion, our web pages, and we kind of improved it in addition to areas where we had technical drawings, blueprints, catalogs, magazines, historical. And again, the improvement on these screens was the ability to search on specific keywords or just look at blueprints versus drawings versus instructions. So a lot of this stuff was archived that we digitized. So you can go directly to it very quickly. Let me go back to top here, back to the shop, and on our blog site, we got into researching articles, and again, we did an article called The Quiet Web, and I was looking for another particular modeling article and accidentally ran across this website that was the Teen Association of Model Railroaders that was active back in the early or mid 1960s. And we basically ended up locating that site. And again, we used the TAMR, the Teen Model Railroad Association, to index all of their newsletters that were on the site. But previously, I didn't even know it existed. And to find a modeling article across that many issues, you'd have to open up each one and start looking. Whereas Claude went out there and did a total analysis on the website and brought back an analytical document for us to study. And we ended up getting a lot of questions we had answered from that, what I would call an executive summary that it brought back. And the end result was a website that we have on our site now that, let me just scroll down here real quick, that I think you would enjoy, because I'm anticipating if you're more than just the type of person that's buying ready to run stuff and you're actually doing modeling and looking for resources and information, this is the kind of thing that maybe I can just control and it's a long scroll, sorry. But you can look at the blog and have some enjoyable reading as well. And we came to this article here, which is available off the workbench, where we indexed 962 modeling articles across 467 newsletters. And this page will give you the ability to search in many, many different ways of looking for articles. And once you find what you're looking for, you can go directly to the PDF link. And again, I don't think we could have done this without the tools that are available in artificial intelligence today. And I think it'll be very contributory towards enhancing our modeling capability. Initially, I was looking at the AI stuff to help me develop CAD work more quickly. For example, I would ask it to give it a detailed prompt and ask it to write some Python code that I could run in my CAD program. And bingo, all I needed to do was export the STL and slice it and print it. That's got some maturity to go on yet, but it's probably very, very doable in the future. The idea here is to help me help modelers. So once we had this index here, that was very helpful. Let me see if I can go back to the shop because I got one more thing I'd like to show everybody. And it's not, oh, I've got to go F11 again. There we go. Now I can go back. And the final thing that we actually did, and I posted in what's new, along with, the physical models that we come out with, is something that we call the, where is it? Well, I will just go to the workbench here. And in the menu of the workbench, there's a topic on the right, upper right-hand corner here. And I'll punch this up again so that it's full screen. F11, there we go. And it's called Ask. Let's see, this Zoom thing keeps overwriting my screen, so it's giving me a little challenge here to navigate. Okay, so it says Ask the Workbench. So if you click on that, this particular interface that we developed was to help me answer questions more quickly, because a lot of times somebody will call me up and they'll describe what they're looking for, or they'll have an old part number, and I don't keep all that stuff in my head. I know it's probably on the website in the database somewhere because we've tried to organize it that way, but you can actually come here and ask a question. There's general questions and then more specific questions, like if you were wanting to look up a part number, you could ask it like, what is part, if I can type right, part number. Sorry about that, I'm fat finger here. Number, let's say C 1406. Let's see if that's a valid part number. And it'll go out there and think about it. And what it has done is it's taken and analyzed our website, and it'll come back with an answer, or it searched for it, but it didn't find it. So I may have typed it in wrong. I may have been, how about C 1604. And you can type probably up to, didn't find that one either. Well, I'm just guessing wrong, but you can enter up to, I think it's 10 questions before, it's rate limited. And you'd have to come back maybe an hour later if you wanted to ask more questions, but that's just so I don't get a $10,000 bill at the end of the month, because there is some charges on the tokens that is utilized by this interface with Anthropic. If you go over here, we can just click on that. It'll punch in the question, and you can see already within the last hour since I've been playing with this thing, it says you've sent quite a few questions. Give it a few minutes and try again, or call me. So that's what I mean by rate limited. But I think this will be a very useful user interface, which will save a lot of modelers from having to call for information, or they'll get a link to where they can find it elsewhere online. Now, the only other items that I've used AI for is being able to take a photograph, for instance, of the inside of the Chicago Great Western Depot in Elizabeth, Illinois, and I asked it, what's in that photograph? And it came back and told me exactly everything that was in the photograph, and this was probably a 1930s postcard image. I had another still image of the F3s going through Elizabeth, Illinois, and the AI created a 15-second video of it switching cars and then leaving town. I was, needless to say, very impressed. So I think if you spend a little time and learn and work a little bit with some of these AI tools, you'll come up with brand new ideas like been happening with our work. So I hope the improvements in the website is comparable to coming out with just a new model product, because it doesn't really cost anything to be able to provide a workbench and provide information. And what will happen is when you enter questions in here, we log it on the back end, so this thing gets smarter and smarter as time goes on, and we'll refresh, this page occasionally so that it picks up the newer information, and hopefully the answers that we can derive or answers we don't get, we can add to this intelligence aspect of this user interface. So that is basically what I wanted to kind of demo today. I was always happy to take questions. I just found that it's helped me enormously in my modeling work, particularly speeding things up, finding the information I need on particular models that I'm trying to build for my layout. And if I didn't mention it before, I am a Chicago Great Western modeler. So,
Questions for John or comments for
Hey, John, I
John?
have a question.
yeah.
Yeah, I got a question, John. Are you using Claude to create the 3D models, or are you using a different tool?
I have not used Claude. I've messed around a little bit with Copilot on that, but it basically, you need to know ahead of time what CAD program you're targeting, and I happen to be pretty well versed with FreeCAD, the open source CAD program, because it has an interface where if Claude comes back with Python code, I just import it and execute it, and bingo, the image is up on the screen. But like a lot of the CAD work Gary Rains does, I think, is Tinkercad. And I don't know that has an interface. I think that's all online, and he's very skilled with that. So what actually happens is this gets better and better with the new releases of the various AI models, learning models. It actually goes out there and learns the application code. So for instance, when I wrote the program to do the Teen Association of Model Railroaders website, and I started in Python, and I had all kinds of errors. The Claude was getting all messed up, and so I said, "Can you do the same thing in PHP?" And he said, "Yeah, that's the best one to use because it's web based." And the first run, it ran clean, and all I had to do was tweak it once or twice to customize it. But it's the kind of thing where that was a tool that you write once, run once, and you're done. There's no reason to run it again. And so as you use them, you'll learn what you can and can't do with them. But it's coming along.
Yeah, I tried that myself this morning. I wanted to see if the tools were good enough to draw me or a pilot based on just a good photograph. And one tool, Meshy, actually did a decent job, but it really wasn't accurate. So I'm going to have to do it myself. But you're right. They are coming along, and I could see a totally different result that would be terrific in like 12
Yeah.
months of
Yeah, and
development.
the other factor that makes it somewhat difficult is like FreeCAD just released their latest uh, um, code base. You know, it's all open source with a lot of enhancements. Well, you wouldn't expect the AI models to have engaged that yet and learned the code. So it's relatively down level, and it's basing its output on old version of the software. So you've got to kind of give it time to, come up to par.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions or comments for John? This is a brave new world for us with AI, and John has told us a number of things that he has been able to use it for. And there's certainly nothing about the experimentation that costs you anything. It's just open it up and try it out and see what you can do. So thank you, John. Our next program, our next part of the program will be a feature on passenger car lighting. I want to flag two things before we go to that. The first is if you look down on the bottom of your screen, about maybe 55% of the way over to the right, there is a little like a thought balloon, and it says chat. And if you click on that, you can uh, enter a typed message or a question, and you can see what other people have been putting on. We had a question, for example, about the modular standards that I mentioned. And the question was whether they are available on the website. And Skylar Shippey reported that they are, in fact, available. There are a couple of other messages from people who are working with one website or blog about their railroad. And from time to time during the program, we will be getting other messages, I'm sure. So let me see. I need to find how to do this. How do I do this? Okay.
Great.
All right. This is Nick's video, and we're going to start it now. This is a photograph, by the way, of his scale model Baltimore and Ohio Cincinnatian. The photograph is taken on John Armstrong's photographer's curve. I'm going to click on it now, and if the technology is working right, we should be seeing this.
Oh, David, I think we're not hearing the audio. So when you share, there's
Hold
a
on one
box
second.
to share the audio too.
What?
We're not hearing the audio. So if you stop sharing and then reshare, and there's a box to include the audio.
Okay. Do you know where that? Oh, here we go. There's one that volume. Is there something else I'm supposed to be looking at other than the little sound
Yeah,
note?
what you need to do is stop sharing and then reshare it. And then
Okay.
when you're about to click OK, there's also another checkbox to include the audio.
I tell you what, can you do that?
No, because it's on your computer.
Ah, okay. All right. Share.
Now, do you see a box for to click for share audio as well?
I see share sound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, make sure that's clicked and then
Okay.
restart it.
All right. Now all I need to do is find out where this originally went. No.
There's an icon in the middle of the screen that says Nick's presentation.
That's covered up, unfortunately, with the. Okay.
Try double clicking on it one more time.
Okay.
Yeah, try double clicking on it one more time.
I don't see. There we go.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this month's
Okay.
O-Scale
Okay,
Central
working.
online program.
Is that
I am
working?
sorry I cannot be here in person, as I am currently working with
Is the audio working now?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Thank you.
a youth orchestra brass section, coaching them on how to play Mahler's Fifth Symphony. If you haven't heard the work, give it a listen. For this presentation, I'm going to talk through one of my more interesting projects, and that's the development of a system for lighting passenger cars from a battery-powered locomotive. I use my model of the B&O Cincinnatian, which is made up of a Weaver B&O P7D from Nick Powell's collection, and the Golden Gate Depot B&O Cincinnatian train set from Terry Terrence's collection. There's a lot of B&O modeling heritage in this train, and I think that's a neat side note for this project. I wrote an article on this topic for the O-Scale Resource magazine, which is in the January-February 2026 magazine. While I cover the same information here, I'll be able to do a deeper dive in this presentation, including some changes I am making after some more thorough testing. I'll go over the origin of the project, how I developed the concept, and what the current and future state looks like. Since I am not here in person, I can take questions at my business email address, bulgarinolocomotiveworks@gmail.com, which is on the screen. You can also reach out to me through my website, blwloco.com. To understand this project, we need to quickly talk about battery power. So what is it? Battery power, which is sometimes referred to as dead rail or power on board, just means your engine gets its power from a battery inside the model. Sometimes this is done via a tender or boxcar with a battery in it, or it's in the model itself as a self-contained unit. Since the power for your locomotives comes from the battery, you don't need to wire the tracks. This also means you don't need to worry about keeping wheels and pickups clean. The reason for that maintenance is to keep electrical connectivity strong and consistent. You can have simple motor control and lighting control all the way to the full suite of DCC sound features that are the industry standard. I think this approach to modeling makes it easier to enjoy my trains instead of worrying about power interruptions and playing track crew. Now the system goes by the 3 names above. I just call it battery power since that's really what the system is. The rails don't have to be electrically dead to run your engine, and the term power on board isn't specific to where the power is coming from. Now, the main advantage to battery power is the fact you don't have to wire your track. However, rolling stock that needs power has to get it from somewhere, and that used to be the track. Some freight cars have sound decoders, and most passenger cars and cabooses have lighting. Now, you have to get that power from somewhere else. So the question of how to address this kept coming up on my Discord server. For those of you who don't know, Discord is a messaging platform like Groups.io, for those of you who are on the O-Scale yard sale there. But this service is for video games. In my Discord server, we play train games like Railroader, but we also have a topic for model trains. And in there we have people who model in all sorts of scales. But a few 3-railers started messing with me that my passenger cars weren't lit. And this had been going on for a while, which gave me a lot of time to think. Those of you who know me know that me thinking is a very dangerous thing. I also hadn't converted a passenger locomotive to battery power yet. So for my first one, I decided to plan out how this was going to work. So let's talk about applying battery power to passenger cars. And I figured there are a couple of ways you could do this. For those of you who get Da Rules reference, you are young at heart. When thinking about this project, I made 3 rules. The first rule is the system has to be universal. I have a lot of passenger cars of varying makes and vintage that will run together in various trains. The second is the system should be the least labor intensive to operate. I modeled the B&O, and the rule for B&O passenger trains is this. What do we got, and how quickly can we put it on the next train? Yes, top-tier services kept cars relatively consistent, but mid and lower tiers had varying consists. Because cars will be swapped out with each other frequently, the system needs to be easy to set up and use. The third rule is it's gotta look good. We are model builders and artists. I certainly view this as an art form. And the point of modeling for me is to make something as close to its prototype as possible while making it function as a model. It's a balancing act, and the system needs to follow that logic. So with these rules in mind, let's discuss a few ways this could work. The most obvious design choice was to give each car its own battery and a simple on-off switch. A lighting circuit is the simplest circuit to set up. It's really easy, so I don't need much space, especially since most modern cars have LEDs that draw next to no amps. So for Rule 1, this system is kind of universal. The cars for this project are Golden Gate Depot cars. There is a plate on the bottom of these cars that has detail parts and an on-off switch. Under that plate is plenty of space for a flat cell battery pack with enough voltage to run the LEDs inside. All you'd have to do is repurpose the wiring for the switch, and it seemed like it would work. I also have Walthers and other kit builds with interior lighting. There were no false bottoms or switches on these cars, and the thing about passenger cars is you see their interiors. There aren't many places to put a battery inside the car. For the second rule, I saw charging as a challenge. How do you charge 5 to 10 individual batteries in a timely enough manner to run a passenger train? Now, really quick, I do want to take a moment to talk about charging. I get a lot of questions about battery power, and one of the most common is how do you charge the battery? A lot of people think charging through the rails is the way to go. This does work, and I know a few modelers who do this, but I cannot not recommend this enough. I do not recommend it, and nor will I set up my models like this for a few reasons. The first is the main advantage of battery power is the elimination of the rails as a source of electricity for the models. By extension, you get rid of power pickups and track wiring. even in limited use, like maintaining a charging track, introducing this back into the picture doesn't make sense to me. In the context of charging, the conductivity of the wheels is now a variable that can disrupt the charging process. That's not good for the battery, and a plug easily solves that problem. Second, if you want to bring your equipment to a layout that uses track power, be it DC or DCC, then you'll have a direct connection from your battery's electronics to the layout's electronics. Any contact between the two systems will result in damage to your electronics or the layouts. Physical switches that enable charging are not a good enough failsafe to me because hobby-grade switches do fail under the right circumstances. Ask me how I know. And the human element is always at play. Say you forget to turn the switch from charge to run. There will be a connection. There will be expensive sounds. It is the recommended practice for battery-powered modelers to keep your battery electronics separate and insulated from the rails. Back to the each car gets its own battery design. For Rule 3, the hidden cells would look good on the Golden Gate cars. But if you can't hide the battery, say in a vintage car that has no false bottom, or a car that's sealed even, it has little underframe detail, you'd see the battery and it wouldn't look good. Because the system isn't really universal, the charging process for an entire passenger train is too intensive, and not every car you can hide the battery on, I decided this probably wasn't going to be the way to go. The next design I thought of was using a dedicated battery car. Something like an REA car or express box car, maybe a baggage car or RPO car. Just something to carry a battery for just the lights. The cars would need to be connected via two wires that would act like a bus wire for the lights to draw power. You'd take the power drops that connect the car's interior lights to the trucks and splice them into the bus wire. So for Rule 1, this would actually be universal. Any car with power drops could be used. All you'd need to do is run a wire the length of the car so that you could connect the cars together. For Rule 2, all you'd have to do is plug the cars into each other, so that felt easy to me. You could also swap out cars as they charge. This means you can do switching operations, and that's always fun. But two new things came up that impact Rule 3. The first is you need to connect the cars somehow. How do you do that while making it look good? The second is not every passenger train has an express boxcar. We don't all model nickel plate 5 and 6, which have a mile of head-end traffic. Plus, some baggage and RPO cars have lit interiors with baggage and mail modeled, so we have the same issue as the previous design anyway, now with the added challenge of connecting the cars. So I thought, wait a second. Why do I need the battery car if I'm connecting the passenger cars together now? Why not just use the other battery that's on the train, the one that's in the locomotive? I did some math and figured the power being drawn by the lights wouldn't impact the battery life that much, even on something as small as a 2200 milliamp hour battery. And I've already made between car connectors for lighting before, so I went back in my project notes and found drawings for my very second battery power installation. I want to take a second to talk about this topic. Now, are you a model railroader or a railroad modeler? The core of this question is how far are you willing to go in terms of prototype accuracy? I love talking about this with people because I find it so interesting where you draw the line. Everyone is different and the justifications are varied. Model railroading, to me, uses the trains as part of the scene in a diorama. There are other things to focus on when building and operating these kinds of layouts than just the trains. Models are close enough to their prototypes. Railroad modeling makes the prototype the overall focus of the layout. There's research that goes into the various aspects of the design of the layout and the models. Operations are modeled and trains are built to serve industries or model something specific. There are high levels of very accurate detail, such as the proper valve gear on a steam locomotive, prototype-specific modifications for passenger cars, region-specific scenery, that kind of stuff. Small details are usually overlooked, but they can provide inspiration. I talk about this because the first time I made between-car connectors was inspired by the prototype. It was a model of Reading T1 2101 in her Chessie Steam Special paint scheme. The Chessie Steam Special project was my second install for a customer. The project was done in 2 parts. I was to do the brass work, installing the various details which are on screen, and I also had to do the battery power installation. The customer did the painting. 2101 had a companion car, a water and tool car from a New York Central Mohawk, pictured on the bottom here. This car had a separate backup light on it, which the customer wanted to control independently of the backup light on the engine tender. The proper casting was added to the car later, but the photo on the right shows the auxiliary tender backup light working. This is the prototype for the car. You can see the water line on the right zoomed in. It's duplicated on both sides of the coupler. The connectors were modeled off of these water lines. One carries the FX3 input, the other carries the function common. The connectors were made from 2.54mm round connectors. Sometimes with these things you get lucky, and 22 AWG wire happens to be the scale thickness of the water piping in the photo. I made receivers on the water tender itself, so when the car isn't in operation, it can be switched around. That's the photo in the bottom right. While not accurate, it makes handling the model much easier on the layout. You can see in the photo in the upper right that the connectors are spaced accordingly so that they do not interfere with the coupler motion. So how does all of this relate to the Cincinnatian? Well, I didn't realize that I had done a proof of concept years prior, so that was out of the way. I knew this would work. I still needed to know a few things though. I needed to know what the amp draw was on the passenger cars and what the decoder can handle. That'll be the determining factor if this is scalable to the length of a passenger train. Get ready for these numbers. I put these cars on the track and measured what they were pulling through the rails since I could add and take off cars as necessary. I did this by putting the decoder in line with a multimeter and measuring the cars as they were on the track and off. Now, I have electrical engineer friends that told me the amp draw would likely go down with the connectors since there's less resistance in the system, so these numbers actually might be high. The Golden Gate cars only pulled 1.96 milliamps each. The observation pulled a little more because it had a few extra lights, but the entire 5-car train pulled only 6.9 milliamps. The Walthers cars had older 16-volt filament light bulbs. I was expecting a much higher number, but these cars only pulled about 2.91 milliamps. I had 11 cars, so I tested them all together, and the entire train just pulled over a little over 11 milliamps as a train. This is important to know so we can make sure we don't overload the decoder's output. Good news, we're nowhere near. The BLU 4408 4-amp decoder in this locomotive has an output of 400 milliamps. That means if you hooked up only LED-equipped cars to it, you would need to have 200 cars before you hit the limit. The 2200, which is the 2-amp decoder, can support 200 milliamps, so about half the capacity. Even if you mix cars of LED and filament bulbs, you should be fine. Just don't make a 200-car passenger train. The final design would look like this. The locomotive has the decoder in it, the battery is in the tender. Now, the 4408 functions give you power at your input voltage minus 1.5 volts. The 2200, just as a side note, gives you a flat 12 volt power. The battery supplies 11.1 volts. So if you take away 1.5, you get 9.6 volts. The booster module in the tender steps the voltage up to 16 volts. Since that's where the cars look the best from the lighting, that's what the legacy cars here are rated for. And the LED converters, the LED bars in the Golden Gate cars have lighting strips that have converters on them that protect them from overvoltage. Any lighting rated lower can have a resistor placed in line to help regulate the current. The passenger car has a bus line running under it, and the interior lighting, either a series of bulbs or that LED bar I was talking about, is connected via the drops that used to go to the trucks. Again, we reuse those to tap them into the bus line. So we're not designing this where the electricity goes into the car up through the lights and down, because anybody who's ever had a Christmas tree with a Christmas tree string of lights knows that if one of those light bulbs go, you lose the entire connectivity for that string. In between car connectors that model the train line and main res line, which I'll talk about next slide, connect the cars and locomotive together. This is the most universal design that I could think of that would allow for the conversion of all passenger cars. Even if you have those aforementioned express cars, you just have to add the bus line so you can run power through the car. The prototype did this with steam lines on certain cars, and it's more or less the same concept. On the prototype in this era, I model 1948, but this is how cars worked from 1903 to 1982, there were three kinds of connections that ran between the cars. The train line for the air brakes, the main res line, which is also sometimes called the communication line, and you have the steam line for steam heat. In the initial design of this system, I decided that the steam line and the train line would be the functional wires, while the main res line being optional to model. This is my drawing for the original system. Yes, I take this a little too seriously, but this was a good way to visualize what the system would look like. One of my favorite sayings is, one problem solved on paper is three that won't be solved with your wallet. The cars and locomotives were to have the female 2.54 millimeter round connectors to avoid having the male pins getting damaged. Let's take a look at the drawing on the left. The top left shows the Katy coupler pocket dimensions. The next section to the right shows the arrangement of the receivers. Again, in this version 1, you can see that FX3 is being run through the steam line and the common is being run through the train line. You see that there are spacers made out of styrene, and that is to make sure that the connectors and detail parts are going to clear the motion of the coupler, the side-to-side motion. I tried to get the spacing correct for the photo on the last slide. The lower left is what I thought this would look like with the detail parts added. And the lower right shows what those pipe fitting accessories would look like. Now, part of the advantage of using the 2.54 millimeter rounds is that you can grind the male pins down and solder them to anything. So, instead of leaving the female plugs exposed, you can plug the detail parts in to make the uncoupled passenger cars or locomotive look like the actual prototype, which I think is pretty cool. I used PSC castings and parts for this. The drawing on the right is of the connector wires themselves. The top photo shows you that you need to grind down the male pin to prep it for soldering. The other two drawings show the lengths of the steam line and train line wires. This is a picture of the tender with the system applied to it. You can see the detail parts in the receiver on the right, in the bottom right, the top right and the bottom right. These are on the tender. The top right shows the valve for the main res line, which is a level of detail that you can add if you so choose. The picture on the bottom right shows the steam line casting as well as the main res casting and the train line casting plugged in, so that way you don't have bare wire exposed. I'm sorry, bare receivers exposed, and it also looks more like the prototype. The installation on the passenger cars was a bit easier. Every passenger car with lighting usually has drops that carry power to the lights inside the car. In the case of this car, each truck got one drop. I ran the bus wire down the middle of the car. To clear the truck's motion, I used UV-activated resin glue to hold the wires off to the side, and that's the two top right photos, one of each end of the car. You can see where that glue is. I'll end up adding more detail to these cars like on the locomotive in version 2 of this system. Back to the topic of model railroading versus railroad modeling. The observation car photo, as well as the one of the tender, came from the B&O Cincinnatian book by Thomas Dixon Jr. The 1947 train had a notch in the skirting for the angle cock, which I added. I made the rear receivers live for the observation car, so the bus wire does run all the way through to the end of the observation car. I did this so that if you wanted to add ground power, for example, at a station, and you wanted to swap locomotives, you could. Again, the opportunity to elevate your models by adding these details, I feel, is often missed. These are photos of the cars with the connectors added. The upper left shows the cars in a curve and the X pattern the wires make. The lower left shows the connectors in that same curve but from the side. The upper right shows them with a sleeve over the wire to model the glad hands, and the lower right shows them on the straightaway. The benefit of this presentation is I get to talk about the system now that it has been tested a little more thoroughly. The first major issue I ran into is the connectors do touch in certain curves, which made them come loose and disconnect. You can call this version 1.5, I suppose, but I remade the connectors with 26 American wire gauge wiring, which is the scale size of the train line, and 28 AWG is the main res scale if you're curious. I had to angle the wire down at 45 degrees on the male connector to ensure that the wires would not touch. This was proven successful at Ted Schnepp's during the Chicago show, so thank you, Ted, for letting me run there. The picture on the top left, that X pattern, it got me rethinking if I should be using the steam line. The idea was to keep the plug far away so that you couldn't ground out, but I've since figured out that even the detail parts from the previous slide, which I will go back to here in a moment, 2 slides ago, you see on the lower right, those detail parts are metal except for the rubber tubing. They don't touch, and they are flush with each other. So I figured, well, if I'm going to have those 2 plugs there anyway, I might as well use that to model the, use that to move the power through, instead of going back to this slide here in that top left, having that X pattern, because that also could pull everything apart. It's easier to have 1 plug than 2 as well, and as far as looks go, you see the wire more than the plugs, especially on the streamlined cars, and even the heavyweights, the steps going into the car will block the plug. So really you're looking at the wires. This is how I envision a version 2 to look. So instead of making each air hose model individually, I'll just have them on the same 2-pin plug for ease. And again, you see that you see the wire more than the plug, so why not make it easy? I also have some ideas on here how to model the steam line. I'm still working that out though. Well, it's customary with these kinds of presentations to end on a caboose or observation car slide. I like this marketing photo of the train, and I feel it's a good reminder of why I'm modeling it. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at bulgarinolocomotiveworks@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, blwloco.com. I am around. Thank you again, and thank you for listening to this presentation.
All right. That was a very interesting exercise for me in terms of the technology. Our presentations have generally been live. Nick is a very talented guy and a polished presenter, and I think that worked really well. But this is more than just lighting passenger cars using battery power, because the ideas that he is talking about are applicable anywhere. And my first question, not being a power on board guy, would be, Nick, how do we adapt this system so we get the advantages of it using track power, either DC or DCC? So there are lots of ways to look at this. I threatened a quiz before. We're not going to have one of those. You're okay for now. But one of the things that I would ask you to do, if you have questions about this, if there were things you did not understand about it, there are two ways to go. One is you can listen to it again, because the program will be edited and placed on YouTube, along with all of the rest of the programs that we have. So you can watch it again. And you can also make questions or comments to Nick at Bulgarino Locomotive Works. That's BULGARINO Locomotive Works at gmail.com. And we will have on next month's show a presentation that will deal with the questions and comments that we receive. So I want to thank Nick. We've had a little bit of scheduling difficulty. He's a very busy guy, but I was happy that we were able to get this quite nicely polished presentation here online. So thank you. A couple of other things. This completes the features of the program, but I do have a couple of announcements. The first one obviously was follow up with Nick on the program he just did. Second, if you haven't checked the chats, see what's out there in terms of questions or comments or information. 2 months ago, we had a presentation from Kelly Regan of Fine Scale 360 on his upgrades for the Weaver RS3 frames. And I can now report that the stabilizers, the braces for the frames, are available. They're in stock from Kelly, and they are quite reasonably priced. You can go to Kelly's website at finescale360.com. Fine, F-I-N-E, scale, S-C-A-L-E, 360.com. One more point, and I want to. This is not something that is lowest on the priority list. Many of you know a modeler named Warner Clark. Warner has been a Proto 48 modeler for a long time, has been very inspirational to a lot of people. He has widely made his photographs of his little jewel box of a Proto 48 nickel plate layout available for NMRA calendars and elsewhere in the scale. Warner is just a marvelous human being and a real contributor to the scale. We did a layout tour of Warner's layout a number of months ago. I am saddened to have to report that Warner passed away, leaving his many friends sad. And I want to thank Warner's son, Jonathan, for making the layout available for one last operating session, which took place last weekend. The layout components which were included some beautifully detailed structures and scenery, are safe. They will not be piecemealed, and they will certainly not be destroyed or abused. So we wish Warner high green signals, and we honor his memory. Next month's program will be on Sunday, May 17. We're still putting together the program. One of the things that I indicated before was the addition of a new monthly feature, which probably will not start next month, but the month after that. And Ryan Shawyer is going to be taking the lead on that. I did not see Ryan when we started, but I saw him during the time that the online program was running. Ryan, if you have anything you want to add, please feel free to do it. If you don't, I'm happy to rest on what we told people before. Anything, and Ryan may have had to leave because he's quite a busy guy. Being a preacher, Sunday is a busy time for preachers. I'm going to assume that he jumped off or doesn't need to say anything. All right, we are now through the formal part of the program. There are two additional pieces that we have been making time for. The first is that there are two types of announcements. If there are announcements by manufacturers or service providers of new items that you have for sale, new items under development, questions you have, now is the time to give us an informal update. We're happy to receive any updates that you all might have. Anybody have anything to put in the pot on this? Second area is from people who are on the program who have any O-scale items for sale or things that they are looking for. Any questions that the group might be helpful in providing some feedback on.
I have one, David. I have a Sunset third rail, New York Central, Mohawk, that's going to probably go for a good price, but it's three rail if anybody's interested in a conversion project.
Thank you, Greg. How would they get in touch with you?
They can use my email. It's greg.vigiano, first name dot last name @gmail.com.
Thank you. Anybody got anything else?
Hey, David.
Yes, sir.
Hi, it's Gordon up in Canada here. Just to mention, we've got a couple of brass two-rail O-scale engines at the Railway Museum of British Columbia for sale. If anybody just wants to look at Railway Museum of British Columbia, look at the gift shop area, and you can find it for sale there. It was stuff that was donated to the museum, and they're for sale. If they're not always up there, you can email the gift shop, and they'll send you more details on it.
Okay, British Columbia. Give us the name
Railway
again.
Museum of British Columbia.
Thank you. Do you recall the prototypes? If not, that's okay.
I didn't bring the details. I think there's an Overland brass. See, one of them's Union Pacific. I think that's on the website, Union Pacific. I can't remember. It's gray. It runs. There's a Southern Pacific black engine. And I don't know. You have to look at the website.
Super. So British Columbia Railroad Museum.com.
Railway Museum of British Columbia up here in Canada, West Coast.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody got anything else?
David, can you hear me?
Faintly.
I'm just
Go ahead.
trying to get my speaker to work here.
You're a little loud. Just go get closer to the speaker, Scott.
Okay. Can you hear better now? Or
Yes.
maybe not? Okay. Um, I, I'm one of the, for anybody who uses a proto throttle, I'm one of the developers, and I'm going to be marketing a new narrow enclosure that reduces the size of the handheld box fairly significantly and put the batteries on the outside. So if anyone's interested in that, they can go to a website that I'll put in the chat here
Okay, that's
shortly.
Iowa Scale Engineering or something else.
No, I'm not affiliated with, this isn't affiliated with Iowa Scale.
Okay.
So I'm going to put the website up right now. And then if anyone's interested, just go there and then they can check it out.
Okay. If you missed the chat instruction manual, look down at the bottom of your screen, just a little scoshy bit to the right of center, you'll see what looks like a thought balloon from a cartoon. It says chat in it. If you click on that, it will open up items including Scott's adaptation of the proto throttle.
Well,
All right.
just the enclosure. So, the
Okay.
proto throttle has a certain thickness to the box. This one narrows it significantly and then puts the batteries on the outside, so you never have to take off the enclosure.
Got it. Okay. Check it out on the chat. Gordon, if you want to put up the museum's email address on the chat, that would work too, although you did tell everybody. Anything else? I see we have Kel Scherson all the way from New Zealand. Good to have you join us.
David, can I just say a quick word in that I'm Peter Warren. I'm speaking to you all the way from London in the UK.
Oh, okay.
And I am the editor of the Gauge O Guild magazine called The Gazette. And I'm very interested to hear from all our members who are interested in O Gauge around the world. So far, I've had quite a lot of interest and articles to publish from New Zealand, Australia, European countries, but I haven't had much success in hearing about O Gauge from the USA. Now, tonight I see that Philip Taylor was on the meeting, and he is the Guild representative for USA East. And I'd be very interested to see if we can get some news about O-Scale in the USA into our magazine. As you probably know, we have about 5,000 members around the world, and it is good to hear how the scale is developing and continuing to develop. We're currently celebrating our anniversary, the 70th anniversary of the Guild. And I'd be interested to hear from any of you about how you think O Gauge has improved, what directions you're going in the States, so we can compare that with the things that are happening in Europe, Australia, and other parts of the world.
Peter, that's great. Can you post an email address on the chat?
I certainly can, yes. If people would like to get in contact with me.
Yeah, the O Gauge Guild, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, is sort of the mother church of O Gauge around the world, including not only the former British Commonwealth, or I guess it is still a British Commonwealth, but for organizations like ours and in countries like ours, we have additional membership, and I think it would be a great idea to open up some lines of communication, both individually and with O-Scale Central. So if you would use your keyboard and enter a name and a email address, that would be wonderful.
Yep, I will certainly do that.
All right. We will leave the line open for a while in case people have questions or comments. If there are things that you want to talk about that might not rise to the level of getting the whole audience involved, we would be delighted to have you stay as long as there is still interest in dialogue. Otherwise, thank everybody for your participation. John Wubble, thank you both for the update on All Nation and the introduction to AI. And although Nick is not here, thank him for his very well done presentation. And we should be looking to that for ideas and other applications. It had a lot of meat in it. And welcome to Peter. And before you get out of here, we should check in the chat and pull down an email address for Peter.